The Stewart-Cassiar Highway travels through British Columbia and is the other main route that travelers take to drive to Alaska. The road is over 725 kilometers or 450 miles long, and it's remote and beautiful. We did this drive over 2 days, and I wanted to share this stunning adventure with you. And be sure to stick around for day 2 when we drive one of the most impressive sections of road I've ever been on. Also, if you want to see the other route to Alaska, the Alaska Highway, you can see that in the description. Alright, let's jump into our 2 days on the Stewart-Cassiar Highway. On the way back down from Alaska, we decided we should drive a different route, so we're doing the Stewart-Cassiar Highway over the next day and a half. The highway leaves the Alcan and heads south about 35 miles from Watson Lake. There's a gas station here which I recommend filling up at. There's a map of the route and we're starting right at the top. Pops is trying to find stuff for us to do in the milepost since we didn't really research this one very well before we left.
It's got a section on Cassiar Highway, so we're going to do the best we can.
We have officially entered British Columbia and left the Yukon. What did you think of the Yukon, Pops?
Oh my gosh, I love the Yukon. Oh, it would be gorgeous to live up here. Yeah, I'm in love with everything up here, British Columbia, Yukon, Alaska.
The first thing you'll notice about this road is just how remote it feels. It's a 2-lane road the entire time, and a lot of the way there's not even any markers on the concrete showing the different lanes. It feels much more like an adventurous experience than it does to drive the Alcan. Also, there are way fewer stops along the drive, but we still tried to find anything that we could show you. We have made it to Beaver Dam. There's a restroom here. Be sure to fill up with gas whenever you see it and try not to get below a half tank on this drive. Our first stop was about an hour after we turned onto the route, and that was at Tachila Park, which is also known as Boya Lake. The lake was located about 10 minutes drive off of the road, and it had a few parking spots, but it wasn't very busy. It was incredibly beautiful though, with the turquoise water that I'm sure would have been even more colorful if the sun was out. This is a beautiful lake. It's a great spot to come with the family. You can camp here. There's even like a kids playground. Water's really calm. Definitely a spot I'd come back to. As you continue to head south, you'll get to a beautiful section of this drive, and that's when you're going along Good Hope Lake. You'll drive along this lake for a while, and it has a rich turquoise color with big mountains on both sides of you. There's not really any great viewpoints, and you kind of just have to take it in as you're driving along. As you continue, be sure to look out for the historical marker on the left-hand side that talks about the Cassiar Gold Rush. And then your next major stop will be at Jade City. Jade City is a fascinating stop along the highway. This settlement's been here for over 40 years, and they've been mining jade basically the entire time. They specialize in nephrite jade, and they produce almost 90% of the world's nephrite jade here. Everything is expensive, but I got each of my kids a little piece of jade. I found it especially interesting to talk to the people that were processing and working on the jade. The jade is so strong that it can take almost a day to cut through it. Then it also takes a long time to polish the jade before it can even be put into the store to be sold. Look at that. Wow. Jade City was also part of a long-running Discovery TV show called Jade Fever. I never saw it, but I kind of want to watch it after visiting. That's a super cool spot, especially if you can see them working on the jade while you're here. Here's where we are, and we are heading here for the night. From Jade City, we continued south towards Dease Lake, which is where we got our hotel for the night. Again, this is a super remote drive, but you can pull off anytime you see a good view, especially of the lakes or the mountains that are all around you. Pops promised me an amazing overlook. I don't see no amazing overlook here, Pops.
Get your butt out of the car and look at it. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, I don't know if it was worth getting out of the car for that or not. Compared to the Alcan, there's not really a lot of information on this drive, so we basically just used the milepost book to figure out where to pull off and to hope for the best. Before arriving in the town of Dease Lake, you'll reach a lake which is humongous and has the same name. A lot of the area around this lake was focused on during the Cassiar Gold Rush, and so you'll find lots of different ghost towns scattered around the lake. We weren't able to find any of the ghost towns while we were driving through, so we just continued on towards our hotel for the night. I literally booked this hotel this morning because I didn't know I was even going to come down here, but man, this place is way nicer than you would expect to find in a small town. This place was called the Arctic Divide Lodge, and it was a great spot to stop with a big old log cabin building that had rooms as well. Now we're heading into the tiny town to hopefully find a place that's still open for dinner. The only place open in town was a small food truck called Nympha's Asian Food Eatery. Pop's got the daily special. I got the all the time special. This was just a small food truck right next to the gas station. People told us that it was really good. Not what I would expect to eat here, but let's see how this goes. This town is surprising me. It's a nice hotel, and this is really good food. How's your chicken?
Very good, yeah.
So I guess this is a good place to stop on the Stuart Cassiar Highway.
There's only 2 restaurants, but the one we tried is great.
Yeah, it's great. And that's it for our first day on the Stuart Cassiar Highway. See you tomorrow. The lobby of our coffee had an espresso machine, so we were able to get decent coffee. Now we're heading out. There was no place in the town open for breakfast when we were there, so we headed over to the gas station and small grocery store to find something to eat. Breakfast of champions. Just another reminder that gas stations are not always reliable on this highway, so if you're near a half tank, you probably should fill up. We left really early as we knew this was going to be a very long day, and we still weren't even sure where we were going to spend the night. Driving south as the sun was rising over the mountains to our left was a great experience, and there was no one else on the road with us. Only about 15 minutes away from our hotel, and we've already seen our first beautiful spot of the day, Lower Nat Lake. Look at Pops, he's surrounded by wildflowers, there's the road, and then there's all of those beautiful little rivers out there. One of the things that struck both my dad and I while we were driving this road was just how untouched everything felt. You'd go past these beautiful lakes, mountains, and vistas without seeing any real evidence of human civilization other than the road you were driving on. Compared to the Alcan, there were hardly even any bridges on this drive, and there were still many sections where it was dirt or gravel. Look at these beautiful mountain views. It is stunning right now on the road.
There's not a lot of places really to stop along here, but you still don't lose these incredible views of the mountains along the way.
We were also told that this is a great drive for wildlife because of how remote it is, but unfortunately for us, we didn't really see any wildlife on our drive. There wasn't a lot of information on our next stop, which I believe was called Kanaskan Provincial Park. We finally found a lake that had an actual turnout. It's very pretty. This park looked like it was popular with RVers and campers as there was lots of campsites along the lake. We didn't stay for very long, but we wanted to show it to you before we continued on. From there, we were greeted with wildflowers and mountain peaks that still had snow on the top. It may seem like we're covering a lot of ground in a short period of time, but this is actually 4.5 hours of driving to get from Dease Lake to where we turn off to go to Hyder. When you get to the Ningunsa River Ecological Preserve, this is a place you're definitely going to want to give yourself a little bit of time. The views along the valley here are some of the best on the drive. Also, I apologize if some of my pronunciation is not very good. I tried to research it online, but there's almost no information on most of these places. 4.5 hours into the drive, we reached the turnoff at Highway 37A towards Stuart Hyder. That's the Stuart Cassiar right there, but we were actually going to head out to Stuart and Hyder, Alaska. I think that's what it's called. So we're going about 40 miles this way. Just like I promised in the beginning of this video, this is one of the most beautiful sections of road my dad and I have ever done. Along the way, there's Rocky Mountain peaks on both sides of you, glaciers, and waterfalls. There's basically nowhere to pull out for most of the drive, so you have to just take it in as you're going along. Luckily, there is a pullout at our next stop, Bear Glacier. This is one of our top points of interest today. It's Bear Glacier. Look at that. The glacier's big and continues around the mountain, but this viewpoint allows you to see the toe. Look at that waterfall right in the middle of the glacier as well. There's the amazing valley that we came in through, and then we're right here next to Bear Glacier. As we continued towards Stewart and Hyder, there were waterfalls coming down on both sides of us. It's crazy to have a drive this beautiful without anywhere to pull out along the way. There was this amazing waterfall that we could see while we were driving, but there was nowhere to turn out at all for it, so we found a little turnout right there, and we're gonna walk back up and see if we can see it. Check it out, there's the road. There's the first waterfall, you can't even hardly see it, and then there's the second one right there. Each of the 10 or so waterfalls we drove past would be destinations on their own in California. But here, they're just along the side of the road. Couldn't get the view I wanted, but the waterfall's amazing as you're driving in, so be sure to watch for it on the right. From here, it was only about 5 more minutes to drive into the town of Stewart. Welcome to Stewart, British Columbia. The tiny town of Stewart had a population of 517 in 2021. Our first stop though was to head across the border and back into the United States to visit Hyder, Alaska. We made it back into the United States, entering Alaska. Hyder, Alaska has a population of less than 50 people, but it has a popular fish and chip shack that we wanted to try. So on the way out to see the bears, we found this tiny spot that sells fish and chips, had a massive line. They said it can take a while to make it, but it's supposed to be really good, so we're excited to try it out. How's it look?
It looks amazing.
These are fresh out the fryer, so they're about as hot as they come, but it looks good. Mom said it's really hot.
It is very, very hot. This is really nice. I particularly like the coating, crispy. Very, very nice, yeah. Worth waiting for too. That's what other buddy had told us while we were waiting. So.
That place says it's closed on Sundays and it's cash only, but it's a great spot for lunch if you're in the area. There's 2 more popular stops in Hyder, Alaska, with the first being a bear viewing area. We're at the Fish Creek viewing area, which was where you can see bears catching all the salmon. There is a ton of salmon down there. They said the bears don't usually come other than the morning and at night, so we'll see if we get lucky or not. But look at all of those salmon down there. I was shocked to see so much salmon in the river when we went, but unfortunately we didn't see any bears. They said because of the amount of food that's here, the bears can be picky and they can just go fishing in the early morning when it's cooler and then sleep during the day when it's hot. Also, you cannot buy tickets here, so you have to go back into town, try to find somewhere with Wi-Fi because there's basically no reception on this entire drive, and then buy a ticket and then come back and show them the ticket. So unfortunately, this is as much as we're seeing today. Also, there is a glacier about 22 miles down the road that way, but it's unmaintained road and it's pretty rough, so we're not gonna do it this time because we don't have the time for it, but it's supposed to be pretty impressive. The Salmon Glacier is the 5th largest in Canada, and it's the largest easily accessible one that you can see. I was bummed to not be able to see it, but I was driving a personal vehicle that really couldn't do that road very well. Since there was nothing else to do in Hyder, we headed back across the border into Canada again. That was an easy border crossing, but do be sure to have your passport if you come over here, because you have to show it on the way back, but you don't have to show it on the way in. On the way out of Stewart, I saw this awesome boardwalk trail, and I figured this would be a fun little walk. It's only probably 5 minutes to get back into town, but Pops just dropped me off because you want to go get some coffee. Even if you don't have someone who can drop you off like I did, this is definitely something you should do while you're in Stewart. It's an elevated boardwalk that goes along the estuary, and it's a short 1/4 mile each way. I was told that dozens of different species of birds frequent the area, but I didn't see any real birds when I was there. Even without any birds, it's a beautiful walk with glaciers and waterfalls out in the distance. This place is absolutely stunning. You have to come here if you're in Stewart. It's such a short, easy walk, but the views everywhere are incredible. I wish I would have had more time to explore, as I'm sure there's other great hiking trails in the area as well. But I made it back into the town of Stewart and met up with my dad to go to Temptations Bakery to get some coffee. One of the highlights of this little bakery is just the fact that they allow you to write on all of the walls, and there's messages from people all over the world here. All right, Pops is tall enough to actually write. He could write on the restaurant. What does that even say? Oh, there you go. As bad as that is, we have left our mark on Stewart, Canada. Fun little spot, great people working there. Looks like good pastries. If you come and you see our signed mark, let us know in the comments. Saying goodbye to Stewart Hyder, Alaska, and we're heading back to the Stewart-Cassiar Highway to finish our drive. On the way back, I had my dad drive so I could just take videos and pictures out the passenger side window the entire way. Here are some of those clips. We saw a bear, Pops.
He's right there. Now he's gone, but he was right there. That's awesome.
After that beautiful view, and then we got to see a bear too.
Finally got to see a bear too. There we go.
I don't know if you can tell by the way we're acting, but that section going out to Stewart is one of the most beautiful places we have probably ever driven. So definitely do not skip going out on that side trip if you come up this highway. You will regret it. It's incredible. Waterfalls, glaciers. What else could you want? Do you have any comments on that, Pops?
It was a complete surprise to us. We went into it thinking, oh, this will be cool. Maybe we'll see a bear or something. But then when we got there, we were so overwhelmed with the beauty. So you will not be disappointed by that. Back on the road again, we had about an hour and a half to drive before it ended at Highway 37. There weren't a lot of stops on this section of the drive, and eventually we made it to the town of Kitwanga. While this town is the official endpoint, we wanted to see some unique First Nations history before we ended our drive. This hill was a fortified village from the late 1700s to the 1800s, and it looked like this. I'll link to a video that has much better history on this spot. If you're interested in exploring it, you can hike down the stairs, and there's lots of information plaques along the way that tell you its history. You can walk all the way out to the hill itself and climb up the stairs to get to the top. Alright, I'm all the way on the top of the mound, and there's Pops down there to show you how big it is. When they excavated Battle Hill, they found the remains of 5 different houses up here. Here's an example of what the houses looked like, and then those are the spiked logs that they'd release if people attacked Battle Hill. These sides are really steep from up here. You can see how it would be hard to attack. That mountain over there is known as the Seven Sisters. From here, it's a mere 5 minutes to the end of the Stewart-Cassiar Highway. As you can see on the map, we have made it to Kitwanga, which is the official end of this Highway 37. Pops, what did you think of Highway 37? Highway 37 was surprising. Very, very rural, not a lot of turnouts, but especially, boy, when you get off on that little Stewart exit 37A. Gorgeous, gorgeous.
I agree, that was a great road trip. Thanks so much for exploring with us. We'll see you on the next one.